The world woke up on February 28, 2026, to something that geopolitical analysts have been warning about for years: a direct, coordinated military assault by the United States and Israel on the Islamic Republic of Iran. Right now, as you're watching this, the Middle East is on fire, the Strait of Hormuz is officially blockaded, and global powers are picking sides. This is not a drill. This is not a simulation. Israel and the United States launched a coordinated joint attack on various sites in Iran, codenamed Operation Roaring Lion by Israel and Operation Epic Fury by the United States Department of Defense, targeting key Iranian officials, military commanders, and facilities with the stated aim of regime change. Let that sink in for a second. Regime change. Not a surgical strike, not a warning shot. They went in to tear the entire government down. Let's start from the beginning, because this didn't come out of nowhere. The groundwork for this moment stretches back years. Tensions between Iran and the United States and Israel have escalated since the October 7th attacks on Israel in 2023 and the onset of the Gaza war, which led to Israel systematically weakening Iranian-backed militias across the Middle East, including Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon. Wikipedia. Iran watched its entire so-called axis of resistance get dismantled, one piece at a time. And then, just before this final strike, something extraordinary happened inside Iran itself. Beginning in late December 2025, massive nationwide anti-government protests erupted in Iran, driven largely by economic crisis, the collapse of the rial, and rising prices, becoming the largest in scale since the 1979 revolution, spreading to over 100 cities across the country. Wikipedia. The regime was already cracking from within, and the US saw that window. Now here's where it gets deeply controversial. The Trump administration in February 2026 stated that Iran had restarted its nuclear program and was developing missiles with enough range for an attack on the United States. But here's the thing the administration didn't want you to focus on. According to an anonymous US source, Pentagon officials told Congress in closed-door briefings there was no intelligence suggesting Iran was planning to attack US forces first. Critics immediately drew comparisons to the WMD justifications used before the Iraq War in 2003. And making it even more dramatic, just before the strikes began on February 27th, Oman's foreign minister declared a breakthrough had been reached, and Iran had agreed never to stockpile enriched uranium and to full IAEA verification. A deal was essentially on the table, and the bomb still fell. The scale of this operation is staggering. Around 2,000 strikes have been conducted by Israel and the US as of March 1st, hitting cities including Tehran, Isfahan, Qom, Karaj, and Kermanshah. House of Commons Library. Israel's Air Force alone reportedly dropped over 1,200 munitions across 24 of Iran's 31 provinces in a single day. The targets weren't just military. Key sites damaged in Tehran include the Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting Complex and the historic Golistan Palace, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Al Jazeera. The UN's education agency, UNESCO, declared the bombing of a primary school a grave violation of humanitarian law. The deadliest single incident occurred in the city of Manab in southeastern Iran, where a strike on an elementary girls' school killed approximately 180 young children. Al Jazeera. That number alone has sent shockwaves through the international community. And then came the kill that changed everything. Iranian state media confirmed that Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, 86, was killed in airstrikes targeting his office in Tehran, an Iranian state broadcaster delivering the news in tears. NPR. The man who had ruled Iran for over 3 decades, who was the ultimate authority in the Islamic Republic, was gone. Israel's military said it carried out a precise, large-scale operation targeting Khamenei at what it described as a central leadership compound in the heart of Tehran. NPR. This is arguably the most significant political assassination in the modern era. The death toll across Iran from the strikes has now reached at least 787 people killed, according to the Red Crescent, with preliminary figures also showing at least 11 in Israel, 6 US soldiers, and 8 killed across Gulf states. Al Jazeera. Iran's response was immediate, fierce, and wide. Tehran has retaliated by launching waves of missiles and drones at Israel and towards several military bases in the Middle East, where US forces operate, while Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps declared the Strait of Hormuz officially closed, threatening to set fire to any vessel attempting to pass. Al Jazeera, think about what that means for the global economy. The Strait of Hormuz is the jugular vein of world oil supply. As transit through the Strait of Hormuz comes to a standstill, oil is stuck on vessels that can't exit the Persian Gulf. CNBC, oil prices have surged dramatically in response. Qatar Energy, the world's largest producer of LNG, halted production after Iranian attacks. Al Jazeera, Iran didn't stop at Israel. Iran has launched strikes across 9 countries in the region: Bahrain, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and an Iranian drone also struck a runway at a UK military base in Cyprus. Al Jazeera, that's not a regional skirmish, that's a multi-front asymmetric war. Iranian missiles targeted the headquarters of the US Navy's 5th Fleet in Bahrain's Jufair area, Dubai's iconic Burj Al Arab Hotel, the Fairmont Hotel on the Palm, Jebel Ali Port, and Abu Dhabi's International Airport. CNBC, the UAE's air defenses intercepted hundreds of Iranian drones and missiles, but the psychological impact has been catastrophic. Dubai, the global financial hub, is under attack. The U.S. State Department has urged Americans in more than a dozen Middle Eastern countries to depart now. CNBC. Now let's talk about the 2 powers the world is watching most closely, Russia and China, because their response will determine whether this stays a regional war or becomes something far, far larger. Russia condemned the U.S. and Israel's attack as a pre-planned and unprovoked act of armed aggression against a sovereign and independent UN member state, accusing the 2 nations of plunging the Middle East into an abyss of uncontrolled escalation and warning of a possible humanitarian, economic, and potentially radiological catastrophe. Strong words. Russia's Dmitry Medvedev accused the U.S. of using its nuclear talks with Iran as a deliberate cover before launching military operations. Al Jazeera. Meanwhile, China's foreign ministry called the killing of Khamenei a grave violation of Iran's sovereignty and security, stating it tramples on the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and firmly condemned it. Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of China. Russia and China jointly requested an emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council, where China's foreign minister called for an immediate ceasefire. Democracy now. But here's the critical question every analyst is asking. Will Russia and China actually do anything? Officials from Russia and China have condemned the US-led strikes, but stopped short of pledging military or civilian support to Tehran. CNBC. And experts are pointing to a brutal strategic reality. Years of grinding war in Ukraine have hollowed out Russia's capacity to project power beyond its borders. And with its military overstretched and economy under sustained Western sanctions, Moscow's influence in the Middle East is set to diminish further. CNBC. While Russia has a military pact with Iran, this does not include requirements to come to Iran's defense. House of Commons Library. So despite the fury of the rhetoric, Russia's hands may be tied. China's calculus is even more cold-blooded. A weakened Iran, paradoxically, may suit Chinese interests, since the weaker the Iranian regime becomes, the more diplomatically, economically, and technologically dependent on China it will become. CNBC China is essentially watching the U.S. do the heavy lifting of reshaping the Middle East and positioning itself to move into the vacuum. China's reaction to U.S. interventions in both Venezuela and Iran shows that a strategic partnership with Beijing falls far short of a military alliance, or even a guarantee of military support in the face of an existential threat. CNBC Russia and China will keep talking loudly, but they are unlikely to go to war over Iran. Now, where does this go from here? Trump has stated that attacks on Iran will continue until all U.S. objectives are met, and has estimated the war will last 4 to 5 weeks. Al Jazeera. He has also refused to rule out ground troops if necessary. 6 American service members have been killed so far, and Trump acknowledged there will likely be more. The Washington Post. The United States is now in its largest Middle East military operation since the 2003 invasion of Iraq, and there is no clear endgame. The scale of the strikes, along with the apparent goal of regime change, suggests the military conflict could escalate rapidly and unpredictably, as Iran may now use any available option to respond. CNBC. Inside Iran, a massive leadership vacuum has formed. The Army Chief of Staff, Defense Minister, and multiple IRGC commanders have been killed in the strikes, including several figures the CIA had assessed as potential successors to Khamenei. House of Commons Library Iran is essentially in a state of decapitation. Who takes control next, and whether they escalate or seek to negotiate, becomes the single most important unknown variable on the planet right now. Hezbollah launched a new missile attack on Israel on March 2nd, and Israel responded with airstrikes in Lebanon, reigniting that front despite a 2024 ceasefire agreement. House of Commons Library. The world is now at a crossroads, unlike anything since the Cold War's most dangerous moments. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. Global oil markets are in shock. American troops are dying. Iran's supreme leader is dead. Russia and China are furious but constrained, and Trump has promised this isn't over yet. The next 72 hours could define whether a new Iranian leadership emerges and reaches for diplomacy, or whether Iran unleashes its full arsenal and drags the entire Gulf into open war. Watch Hezbollah, watch the Strait, watch Beijing. Because in a crisis like this, the next domino to fall could be the one that changes everything. This is breaking history, and we are living it in real time. Stay locked in, share this video, and make sure you're subscribed, because this story is far from over.